Nigeria has benefited in terms of capacity building and data generation, because from the first TDA and study that was carried out, a lot of hydrogeological and hydrological data were made available to be able to arrive at the results that were stated earlier. This, amongst others, and then capacity building, as stated, is the benefit of the project. Conclusion: the Lumetin Aquifer System, where the project is domiciled, is situated in a fragile environment with low rainfall and high rates of evaporation. Several of the rivers and streams are seasonal, they're ephemeral, and quite a few dams have been constructed along that area on the perennial rivers, resulting in the modification of the flows and increased siltation of the riverbeds, thus drying up surface water. There is heavy dependence on groundwater for the requirements of farming, human activities, and livestock. The effect of this dependence on the groundwater resources has resulted to lowering of the water level and degradation of the quality, which needs to be monitored. Thank you very much.
I told you, you look very sneaky. I have sneakily carried the whole time. It took 6 minutes without me knowing. Please, sir, you want to make a comment quickly?
Okay. Thank you very much. God bless you. Actually, I won't talk again about NISA itself. During my previous intervention, I've spoken so much about the relevance of that agency to whatever we're doing. They have the mandate for data collection, data management. Without data, you cannot plan. You will not even know how much you have and all of that. So it's very key. And the Honorable Minister has directed that all the departments in the ministry and every other agency should support them. Particularly, in fact, the River Basin in particular, that they should support NISA to establish more stations. So now, but on this project, on this subject matter, this is a very good case study of integrated river basin management and a good case study of transboundary water management. It's a water that is a basin. It's a basin, a groundwater basin. A groundwater aquifer that is owned by 7 countries. And it means that you have to negotiate, and you must have capacity to negotiate, about how that basin is being used, by the owner countries. So I am also privileged to be the vice chairman of the interministerial committee of this very study. So I'm familiar with what she has said. I also chair the subcommittee on governance. So my thanks to my lecturer in water governance. It was during my contribution they also found it necessary to make me the subcommittee chairman on that. So I think this is more like an information paper, because it's good for everyone in the sector, all of you, to be aware of this, but particularly the Sokoto River Basin. You need to know about this. In our last meeting, I made a case that the Sokoto River Basin should be represented in this committee. We are not there yet, but I think that suggestion was taken. I believe that by the next meeting, you'll be invited, because you are the ones at the grassroots that has the data, that will be able to help us with data and also be able to implement the recommendations. Thank you. Thank you. Nice.
All right, thank you very much, Director. Now we're going to the departments, and this is what we're going to do. Director, if you will permit me. We're going to be grouping 3 departments at a time before you make a comment. 1, 2, 3 departments, and then you collectively make comments on them. So let's begin to manage our time effectively now. I'd like to begin by calling the departments of River Basin Coordination and Inspectorate. If that department is ready, your time is now. They have already taken. Oh, that's your paper. I was suspecting you since. I knew there's something you did that I couldn't place my finger on it. Finally, yes. All right, Department of Water Quality and Sanitation. I can see Madam has been around since Yesterday afternoon, I saw her preparing these notes. I've worked with her quite a few times. I know she's a very diligent woman. One very outstanding thing I know is she has never exceeded her time when you give her to do anything. So you have 5 minutes and your time starts now. You have a slide?
Yes, sir.
Please, can we bring up the slides very quickly?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Please permit me to stand on existing protocol. While the slide is coming up, earlier in the day, we had paper presentations from the river basins. We've been talking about food security and all that. And I'm just imagining taking up a topic that is not very interesting. Shit business. The Clean Nigeria used the toilet campaign. While we are still waiting for the slide, there is this particular slide that I would always want to talk about, and that is where we started from. We have a slide that talks about top countries, that top 10 countries in the world that practice open defecation. Nigeria is one of them. In the year 2000, Nigeria was like number 6. Next slide, please. Nigeria was like number 6. But looking at this slide, while other countries made a lot of effort to move away from the practice of open defecation, Nigeria was moving up to take up a position. And by 2015, Nigeria was already number 2. But there was something that happened. And in 2014, India took a decision between 2014 and 2019 and said, within the space of 5 years, we will end open defecation. They did make good their promise. 2nd of December 2019, the entire rural India became open defecation free. But because of the large population of that country, about over 1.3 billion, the urban areas are still working to become open defecation free. Next slide. So looking at the access and the sanitation service level, looking across states, we have, for sanitation in Nigeria, we have just 44%. And I'm sure most of us here, our children will come back from school and say that he has got 44. I'm sure you'll flog that child. Then open defecation according to states. As that today, we have 46 million people that defecate in the open. And what can we do about that? Next slide, please. And that was where our journey started. And the first thing was, in 2018, the Honorable Minister had the opportunity to visit India during the international conference, Mahatma Gandhi Sanitation Conference. And he saw what India was able to do within a short space of time. He was triggered, and that was when our journey started. And then we started the talking about ending open defecation. Now, we also are aware that we have a strategy to end open defecation in Nigeria by 2025. That strategy document was developed and was launched by the Honorable Minister in 2016. Other states also developed their state-specific roadmaps. But what happened? After that, most of these documents went into the shelf. Again, some in 2013, during the National Water Resources Council, we also were aware that a memo was presented to actually adopt the community-led total sanitation as one of the strategies to end open defecation in Nigeria. That was also gladly accepted. So that is one of the strategies that we are using today to see that we push and end open defecation within the shortest possible time. Again, as at today, we also have 72 local governments that are open defecation free. And I'm sure many of us would like to ask, where are these 72 local governments? Many would want to say, okay, since we have 72 local governments, it cuts across the entire country. But no, it is only hovering within 10 or 11 states. So the other states, what are we doing? Now, the Clean Nigeria Use the Toilet campaign, these are the objectives to carry out a national campaign. And how did we get to this point? Again, a memo was sent to the Federal Executive Council to actually carry out a massive campaign, a behavioral change campaign, because you will all agree with me that ending open defecation requires a whole lot, not just about the construction of toilets, but it's also about change in behavior. And with that approval, there was a national flag off on the 19th of November in 2019 by the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibanjo. And then on the 20th of November, also 2019, we also had the executive order, which was signed by the President himself. Looking at what we have as objectives, we have implementing a national campaign to mobilize and support resources at the highest level. You would also agree with me that at the highest level, with the declaration of a state of emergency, there was a flag off at the national level. And again, we also have a steering committee for the campaign, which is actually chaired by the Vice President himself. At that national level, you'll agree with me that we have the political will. Then also within the private sector and also from other development partners. We need to create a pool of resource persons. For this to happen across all the states, it means that we must have enough resources in terms of technicalities to be able to carry out the campaign and then mobilize the strata of the society to imbibe this new culture. So it means that a communication campaign is going to be pushed out there to support and ensure that all of us understand and are able to end open defecation within the shortest possible time. These objectives to see how we can end open defecation, especially with the roadmap, which has actually clearly stipulated that between now and 2025, we will end open defecation in Nigeria. Next slide. Now, what again have we done the journey so far? We also have a Clean Nigeria campaign website, which is actually presently also undergoing more of upgrading. We also have a secretariat to man this campaign and to coordinate the activities of the campaign across the country. We also have inaugurated the organized private sector. Now, this is one particular sector that had been missing within the sanitation sector. So we also saw that inauguration happen by the Honorable Minister. And today we have an organized private sector. Not just having an organized private sector, but there have been a whole lot of engagement to see how the private sector can come in to give a whole lot of support. If Nigeria must end open defecation by 2025, we must be talking about toilets across not just households, but also within the public space. We must also have toilets across these spaces. And it then means that we need the support of the private sector to be able to do that. You're moving too fast. Yeah, I'm trying to. Okay, so we have also been able to engage with a whole lot of with the River Basin focal officers. We actually did have that sensitization happen, and the plan is actually to sensitize as many as possible, and for us to see the Clean Nigeria campaign as part of our own activities in ending open defecation. Whether we like it or not, if we don't support this campaign, it is very crucial because we know that we are talking about, what are we talking about today? We're talking about water supply. We're talking about ensuring that we improve safe water supply. And if we continue to endanger the water bodies with open defecation across the country, then it's also going to be a very big problem. There have been a lot of collaboration with National Orientation Agency and a whole lot of other organizations are also part of this to see that we end open defecation. And again, as of today, all the states have actually keyed in by flagging off the campaign. In fact, the last was that of the federal, the FCT, that actually kicked off and have said, yes, we are committed to ending open defecation as by 2025. Next slide, please. That's the executive order. Next slide. Now, an end open defecation Nigeria is everyone's business. So we must all be part of it to see that we join hands to end open defecation by 2025. Next slide. Now, these are a whole lot of different toilet options that have come up. I'm bringing this up now because a lot of different designs are really coming up. In fact, the Institute of Architects, the civil engineers, they have a whole lot of that. And I also remember that sometime last year, we actually visited the National Water Resources Institute to see how we can actually put these designs together. So it's something that we really need to do. So bringing with all these designs that are really coming up, we need to push it down to the institute and see that we actually get a catalog of designs which are actually acceptable across the country. Next slide, please. Now, again, as a result of the demand that is being generated and created as a result of community-led total sanitation, they have a whole lot in terms of supply chain. Because again, if you are creating demand and the supply chain is not there, then we are not doing anything. So a lot of these are happening within communities. We see the Adache group, we see the microfinance institutions also giving support. And a whole lot of states are also providing a lot of pool funding to see that they support their community members to build household toilets and end open defecation as soon as possible. Next slide, please. Now, this is, of course, the sanitation value chain. This is here because for every sector, for every section of this is an untapped resource. So there are a whole lot that needs to happen within the sanitation sector. So from the containment down to reuse is a whole lot of chain that is really untapped. And for most of those that have gone into the sanitation business, they will tell you that, yes, you are talking about shit, but for them, it is money. So we need to all work together to see that as quickly as possible, we end open defecation in Nigeria within the shortest possible time. So all our programs, let us try to ensure that we actually capture that. Incidentally, when the river basins were talking, it was only Cross River State, Cross River River Basin that mentioned the activities they have around the provision of sanitation facilities. Maybe others have it, but due to want of time, they did not mention it. I thank you all for listening.
Thank you very much. A round of applause for her. Thank you very kindly. Thank you. Shit business is good business. I hear there is a particular country where if you visit and you don't go to the toilet, the police will visit you. No, and I'm not joking about that. It's serious business for them. You must go to the toilet, whether you eat or not. We're trying to end open defecation. The technical units, the next paper will be by Department of Water Supply. You get that ready for us. So while we're fighting to end open defecation in Nigeria, during the days of Baba Obasanjo, he traveled to the US. And while he was taking a tour around the country with the then president, they saw somebody excreting in the open place. And Baba turned to the president and said, you see, this problem is not only in my country. You also have open defecation in your own country. So the president was surprised and he stopped. He said, bring me that young man. As soon as they brought the young man over, he saw Obasanjo and said, hey, let's sir, good evening, sir. Hey, hello, welcome to America, sir. So the president told him, you see, this is your problem that you imported from Nigeria and brought it to the US. Please, Department of Water Supply, are you ready for us? Okay, water supply is unavailable. So let's go to the department we used to call Planning, Research and Statistics. They are now the Water Resources Planning and Technical Support Services. Madam, are you ready? You have 5 minutes to do your business. Technical people, are we ready? We don't want to use your time to be sorting out the paper. Yeah. So bring it up. Bring up Water Resources Planning and Technical Support. Yeah. Is that your paper? Good. So your time starts now without any hindrances.
Thank you very much, Mr. MC. Mr. Chairman, please permit me to stand on the existing protocols. My name is Mercy Odu. I'm taking this presentation on behalf of Mrs. Alice Ojo, the Director of Water Resources Planning and Technical Support Services, Federal Ministry of Water Resources. I'm taking this presentation. The presentation is centered on the 2013 National Water Resources Master Plan, which is one of the strategies to mainstream the water sector. We talk about mainstreaming the water sector in the morning, This is one of the strategies. And this document was prepared in collaboration with Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, in 2013. And it was, next slide, please. Next slide. It was developed by the ministry to resolve problems/issues affecting the water sector, which included the low rate of access to safe water, safe and clean water and sanitation facilities, the less contribution of irrigation to national food security, that is, it wasn't enough. And then there's the insufficient utilization of hydropower. That is, the water bodies are not used to generate enough hydropower for the country. The plan focused on sustainable water resources development and management, integrating development, utilization and management of water resources infrastructure through evaluation of water resources potentials, demand projection on the basis of the philosophy of integrated water resources management. And this plan is up to year 2030. Next slide, please. The Water Resources Master Plan has 9 volumes, which focuses on 2 broad areas: Water Resources Development Plan and Water Resources Management Plan. When we talk about the Water Resources Management Plan, it centers, Water Resources Development Plan, it centers on water resources subsector development addressing identified water resources potentials. In the morning, we talk about the potentials of some of the river basins that are underutilized. So under this particular plan, we identify the water resources potentials and the subsector development plan. Then when we talk about water resources management plan, it centers on regulation and administration through the following activities. I knew we had mentioned talking about regulation in the morning. If there's no regulation in the sector, we'll keep having problems. And the activities are operation and maintenance of water resources infrastructure, regulation and conservation of water quality and quantity. It's not just to have enough, but we must have quality. Coordination among identified MDAs and relevant stakeholders. That's why you will hear things like interministerial technical committee for one thing or the other. Because water resources cannot do everything alone. We identify the ministries, departments, and agencies that we work together. Facilitation and innovation to support development and utilization of water resources infrastructure. Next slide. Water supply and sanitation development. Under water supply development, by both rehabilitation and construction of new projects as proposed in the master plan, we have up to 12,503 million liters per day in the hydrological balance and 14,710 million liters per day in facility planning. Those are specific data. Then when we talk about sanitation, in the master plan, the sanitation development plan estimates 36.8 million sanitation facilities to be developed in order to serve the estimated population growth by 2030. Next slide. Irrigation and drainage development plan. The existing irrigation scheme is based on surface water potential, precipitation, and flow pattern. In the master plan, it proposes an upward review of irrigation areas for the existing irrigation schemes. And under the new irrigation scheme, it's recommending that it did not recommend a new irrigation scheme in the existing Fadama area. However, supplemental irrigation scheme which utilizes rainwater efficiently was recommended to be promoted in such areas where precipitation is high in order to minimize water source development. And next, we're talking about the hydropower generation development plan. In the 2013 Water Resources Master Plan,
It evaluated the hydroelectric potential of existing dams, considered the installation of low-head hydroelectric stations, and secondly, it considered the large environmental and social impacts of constructing a large-scale hydroelectric station, as well as the lack of suitable dam sites with large enough capacities. The master plan proposed a practical choice of installing small hydropower stations for the proposed dam sites that are driven by water for other purposes such as irrigation. Next slide. We have the immediate and long-term strategy, and that is what we call the water sector roadmap. It is all supposed to help to implement the master plan. In this regards, the immediate and long-term strategies that ranges between 2016 and 2030, it is also known as water sector roadmap. It was developed to strategically guide pathways towards the implementation of activities outlined in the master plan. It also clearly outlined the immediate and long-term strategies which are designed to move the water sector forward in the attainment of sustainable development in the sector. Still under the water sector roadmap, water supply and sanitation. The plan is to achieve 100% access to water supply for the citizens by the year 2030, which is one of the SDG targets for the year, when the population of Nigeria is estimated to have become 257 million. For irrigation, it is planned that there will be development of 440,000 hectares of irrigation land by 2030. For hydropower development, the plan is to develop 12,220 megawatt hydropower potential through the private-public partnership arrangements and sign agreements with state governments. And some state governments have already signed to partner with the federal government for this hydropower development. One of the states is Kaduna. When we talk about the master plan advocacy, in order to imbibe the principle of sustainable development, the ministry has outlined advocacy programs for the 6 geopolitical zones to sensitize Nigerians on the 2013 master plan, on proper understanding of the content of the master plan. This was to enable stakeholders adapt their projects and programs implementation to the master plan, and they will see themselves as parts of the development in the sector. In concluding, for the development in the sector to be sustainable, the ministry is appealing to all stakeholders to implement the plans and projects proposed in the master plan as follows. Practical use and participation in periodic review of the master plan. For example, the master plan is supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. And since 2013, we're still working towards the review. Because of finances and so many other things, it's yet to be done. But we are working assiduously towards the review. Implementation of water resources development plan, water supply development plan, irrigation and drainage development plan, involvement in other subsectors. Because water cannot stand alone, we have to work with other subsectors. Implementation of water resources management plan, and steady and sound investment in water resources infrastructure. Everybody has been talking about public-private partnership. There is a need for steady and sound investment in the water resources infrastructure. And I want to say that when we all, plan our projects in line with the master plan, this will enable the ministry and its agencies to deliver on their mandates. Without this, there will be pockets of achievements here and there, but we need to work together as a team in order to fulfill our mandate.
Thank you very much. Thank you. A round of applause. It's like these departments are keeping more to time than Okay, no, I don't want to compare. The director is here. Well, the departments are doing well. Let's see if we can bring on the last department on my list now before we go to the units. Department of Dams and Reservoir Operations. Our technical people, do you have a paper from? No, they don't. And so we hear that department is unavoidably absent. We'll move to the units now. But in the meantime, if Gurara Water Management Agency is here and NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, both of you will get ready for after the units. When I call the units, we'll now come back to you. So let me go back to invite. Okay, you may want to make some comments on the departments that are presented before we go to the units quickly. Very much. Thank you. A round of applause. It's like these departments are keeping more time than the. Okay, no, I don't want to compare. The director is here.
Yeah, I want to first of all commend the three ladies, three of them in sequence that spoke brilliantly. Honestly, I'm proud of you, and I know you are the hope for the future of the sector. Three of you are assistant directors. You still have time in the ministry, and I like your energy. I like your output. Please keep it up. And then for ODF, yeah, I want us to know all the river basins agencies, particularly the river basins that are here. ODF is a flagship program of the ministry. And the Honorable Minister has directed that all the river basins should key into it. And in that regard, we are to open decks for ODF for wash. I believe we have all done that. We had a workshop the Secretariat had a workshop in Abuja for the desk officers in the river basins. I was in attendance. And the charge is actually for you to support the ministry in building toilet facilities at the grassroots. But we want you to pay close attention, strict attention to your own facilities, your farms, you must have toilets there, VIP decent toilets, because we are going commercial now. And that means that your products should be targeting international markets. And there are standards, there are requirements that you must fulfill. And one of it is certification for hygiene and sanitation. If your agricultural products are coming from fieldy environment, if they come and inspect and discover that you don't have sanitation facilities around your farms and your processing factories and all of that, your product will not go out. But of course, you should know that it's not also fit for our own local consumption. So it's mandatory for you to have toilets around your farms. And also, because the ministry is spearheading this campaign, there is no department or agencies in the ministry that should be left behind. What I'm trying to say is that if anybody comes to your agency, you must show good example. You get the point? Because I have visited some river basins where we want to ease yourself, we have to drive you to somewhere else. Or you have to go to the bush. I'm telling you, it's so bad. That is state headquarters. So it shouldn't be the case. We should show the good example. Like if you come to our ministry, we should have good toilets in the ministry. If you go to the secretariat of this campaign, they should have good toilets with running water. So we should demonstrate that. So because we are leading the campaign, we must show good example. From the master plan presentation, we've seen that we are supposed to establish about 36.8 million toilet facilities before 2030. I don't know how far we have gone. But now, talking about the master plan is a roadmap for the water sector. I see the way a lot of us go about our budget preparations. And I'm sure, I don't know how many of you make reference to the master plan when you are introducing projects into your budget. The executive directors of planning who are here, you must be familiar with this master plan. It's your working document. You must have a copy in your office and you must make reference to it for whatever planning you are doing. For irrigation, for water supply, for dams, they have specified, they've given, provided, even carried out studies and shown areas with potentials for you to execute these projects. So we're not supposed to work without this master plan. And I'm impressed with the advocacy that is going on. And this is another opportunity for you to know about the master plan. So I encourage you to use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Director. There is a department we skipped earlier. I just got a call that they're ready for us now. So we're going to combine them with the units. In the meantime, Department of Irrigation and Drainage, your paper has just been presented there. I think it should have been done. So you're going to present without a slide while they're trying to work on the slide. If they get it before you're ready, fine. If not, you continue without it. Meanwhile, PPP unit, gender unit, you should get ready and please make sure your slides are with the technical unit. The PPP unit and the gender unit, make sure your slides are there. Then Gurara and climate change. Please make sure you are there as well. Let's welcome the Department of Irrigation and Drainage. Have I called Department of Dams and Reservoir Operations? They are the ones that just finished now. Okay, they are absent. Okay. So, ma'am, you have 5 minutes. Okay, luckily your slide is ready.
Like irrigation. Good evening, sir. Permit me to stand on the already established protocol, sir. Presentation at the 10th National Water Conference. I'm presenting this on behalf of my director, Engineer Mrs. E.O. Luni, fellow Nigerian Society of Engineers. Despite the unpleasant effort of the COVID-19 pandemic, from March to date, significant progress has been made in the irrigation subsector of water resources. In line with the policy thrust of this administration, focus is on completion of ongoing irrigation projects across the country to achieve increase in the command areas under irrigation in order to enhance national food security, wealth, and job creation for the teeming rural populace. Next slide, please. To this end, steps were taken to achieve deliverance of irrigation schemes in phases. Some completed sectors of some irrigation schemes handed over to farmers for cultivation include, next slide, 3,070 hectares at the Middle River Irrigation Project in Sokoto State, 786 hectares, Gari Irrigation Project, Jigawa and Kano State, 7,105 hectares at Bakulori Irrigation Project in Zamfara State, 5,129 hectares at Kano River Irrigation Project in Kano State, 4,050 hectares at Hadeja River at Hadija Valley Irrigation Project in Jigawa State. Next slide. In addition to the above, erosion control work project at a local government in the Benin State was also completed and commissioned. Next slide. Connection of Middle Ogu irrigation project to the national power line, as well as the redesign of Middle and Lower Ogu irrigation project in Oyo and Ogun State, respectively, have commenced in earnest from September this year. Similarly, the integration of solar power in Sapka irrigation project in Katsina State is now in advanced stage. Next slide. The World Bank assisted transforming irrigation management in Nigeria, TRIMI project, is playing a significant role. Under its intervention in Bakulori irrigation project, Kano River and Hadija Valley irrigation project, when completed, the intervention will add over 52,000 hectares of land to the existing irrigation area and reduce the hazard potential of existing dams. Also, about 625,000 jobs are expected to be created, while 520,000 additional tons of rice and other cereal are estimated to be produced annually. The ministry is doggedly pursuing the establishment strengthening of water users association nationwide for effective and efficient operation and maintenance of irrigation infrastructure by building the capacity of water users nationwide. Next slide. In follow-up to the Southeast Regional Workshop that was held in Enugu in November 2020, the North Central Regional Workshop was held in Ilori, Kwara State in October 2021. This will be replicated in the remaining 4 geopolitical zones and in each river basin development authority in order to achieve functional water users association in all irrigation schemes. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. We're going to call 2 units, and then the director will make a comment. Thank you very much. You kept your time well. And I think that's the reason why. Yeah. I think that's the reason why the Oibo man says, whatever a man can do, a woman can do later. Better. So I think you did it very well. A round of applause for her, please. Yes. I'd like to invite, if they are available, the PPP units. I've entered the units now. The PPP units. Okay, they are unavoidably absent. The gender unit. Do we have the unit? Gender units? Okay, they are also unavailable. Climate change unit. They are also not available. Climate change is there? Is climate change there? Okay. When I know they hear say other people know they. Make una man no day, make this finish, make person growls. Oh, directors. Okay, good afternoon, sir. Sorry, I don't know say you know here. Sorry, no vex. Please, climate change. You can take your time. Oga is here already. Just you can come slowly, no problem. We have Oga said we should give you 7 minutes. Okay, Oga say I should give you query for coming late. That's climate change. Yes. Indeed, this climate has changed. Hallelujah. My climate has just changed. Thank you. Well done. I was angry before you came, but seeing your face, my climate changed. Welcome. And I saw the change, okay?
Good evening, everyone. Kindly permit me to stand on the existing protocol. My name is Azan Eniola. I'm representing the Head Climate Change Unit. and I'm here to present the activities for the units. These are the presentation outline. We have the introduction to the conclusions. Next slide. Now, the climate change unit was established in October 2010 based on the realization that effective and efficient water resources management is key to climate change adaptation and mitigation. The unit is one of the general services units of the ministry under the office of the permanent secretary with specific mandate to mainstream climate change issues to the water sector as a cross-cutting issue. Next slide. Functions of the unit. Our core function is to mainstream climate change into the water sector. The next one is to strengthen the overall policies / institutional framework, including resources mobilization and information on climate change. Also, to promote climate change resilience development, integrated water resources management. Also to promote low carbon development, low solution for rural area, and to promote renewable energy options. Capacity building in the water sector on climate change, to publish regularly maps bulletin with a view of disseminating information on climate change. Also to sensitize the public, create awareness about climate change as it affects water sector and strategy for mainstreaming climate change phenomena into the water resources planning and management. Next slide. We have the structure of the unit. We have three sections under the unit. We have the adaptation, the mitigation, and the awareness section. Also, we've been able to establish climate change desk officer for all the technical departments of the ministry and all the 12 river basin development authorities. We have climate change desk officers for easy information dissemination. Next slide. Then we have 5 projects in the unit. Next slide. Now I'm going to talk on the project and the achievements at the same time. The first project is development of climate change information model for the 8th hydrological area. This project is aimed at providing climate change information, especially on rainfall and temperature scenarios, and to complement it with site-specific information as it affects water resources management. Next slide. We have been able to cover 4 out of the 8 hydrological area. We take each hydrological area 1 per year due to paucity of fund. We have been able to cover hydrological area 1, that is hydrological area 1, that is Sokoto Basin, hydrological area 2, Niger Central, hydrological area 7, Eastern Littoral, hydrological area 6, Western Littoral. And we have the copies there. Those are the pictures. Next slide. Now, these are the 8 hydrological areas. The pink part is the hydrological area 1, which is the Sokoto Basin. The 4 information guide that we have done, we did it across the geopolitical zone. Then, this information model is very, very useful to all the river basin development authorities. And it has been given to them, all the river basins and all the technical departments of the ministry. Next slide. Now, the second one is the development of water sector national climate resilience management plan. This is a sectorial policy. It's a policy document for climate change. We all know that we have a national policy on climate change that incorporates all the sectors such as water, health, environment, etc. But this one is for water sector. It's sector specific. And it is to promote the sustainable water sector management, especially the protection of our water infrastructure. Next slide. Now, we have published All right, we have it in volume 1 and 2. While doing this, the consultant separated it into two contents. The first one is the volume 1, which involves the process, and the volume 2, which has the recommendation and strategies. But when we are finalizing the document, it will be harmonized into one single document. All right, next slide. Now, we had series of meetings when developing this water sector policy document. And you can see from the pictures, these are some of the meetings that we had to collate information for the policy document. Next slide. Now, the third one is advocacy visits to advocacy visits on climate change to community and river basin development authority. Now, information dissemination is core to climate change action. And this project is aimed at continuous information dissemination through workshops, training, seminars, etc. We've been able to visit a lot of, like 9 or 10 out of the river basins. Most of these are workshops. They are done in conjunction with the river basins. We take it to them. We invite the people from the catchment, the river basin people, people from the State Ministry of Environment, State Ministry of Water Resources, the Rwansas, the NGOs, the academia, so that we can all brainstorm together and learn about climate change. Next slide. Now you can see for the first one there, this is at Imo State, Owerri, the regional training workshop. We have done the one at Mina. Next slide. These are pictures of the training of the workshop. For instance, please go back. The one we had at Ogwonshu, you can see the information guide being presented there. The information guide being presented to the river basins. The ones that we have available when we are going for the workshop, we give it to the river basin development authorities. Next slide. These are all the pictures. This is at Kano, at Ilorin, at Calabar, etc. Now, the fourth and fifth project, development of climate change toolkit for water sector and building of climate change adaptation in the water sector. We all know that water is central to adaptation, and we need data to make informed decisions. This toolkit is aimed at helping the water sector develop a robust database for climate change information. Next slide. Then we had a series of meetings with the River Basin Development Authority, telling them what to do, how to develop their database. They were giving templates, etc., on how to develop their database. These are the pictures of some of the meetings we had with the River Basin. Next slide. Now, other important activity, Green Bond Initiative. In order to make more funds available for projects within climate change credential, the Green Bond was launched in 2015. The ministry, through the unit, was in 2019, during the issuance of the second tranche of the bond, was allocated 2.8 billion to promote irrigated agriculture for national food security. Now, the issuance of the third tranche will soon commence for identified projects with climate credentials towards promoting renewables, adaptation, water supply and hygiene, etc. All right, we are collating all the projects that has climate change credentials. Now we have the nationally determined contribution. That is our NDC. In 2015, Nigeria joined the rest of the member states of the United Nations Framework on Convention on Climate Change, UNFCCC, to sign the Paris Agreement. And it was the nationally determined contribution was developed in 2015. Water was not included in the 2015 version of the NDC. This document is designed to be reviewed every 5 years. Now, in 2020, during the review mechanism, water was included as a standalone, which means they discovered that now water do emit GHG too. Hence, we had a series of meetings with the technical departments, the agencies, the River Basin Development Authority to collect input into our NDC. Next slide. Now, the NDC is to promote mitigation and adaptation measures. Mitigation, that is to reduce the emission of GHG gas, and adaptation to reduce the harm from climate change that proves unavoidable and build community resilience. Next slide. Others include installation of energy efficient pumping system, including solar pump to replace all diesel generator, the use of solar power and all other renewable options such as wind. Now, the restoration of natural ecosystem. This is very, very important. I need to wait. This is very, very important. Okay. This is very, very important because we know that climate change is already affecting our ecosystem. Our ecosystem is becoming degraded, and this has led to loss of biodiversity. And when this happens, water becomes a challenge. It becomes a constraint. Therefore, we all know that the catchment stores water. When this happens, the water goes away and it becomes dry if it is not properly managed. If it is not properly managed. Therefore, we need to restore our natural ecosystem. The other includes measuring of water consumption, etc. Next slide. And then the recommendation of our NDC, nature-based solution, adaptation. And then the next slide, we have meetings doing this NDC mechanism. Constraints and challenges, low level of understanding and appreciation of the efforts of climate change by stakeholders towards development of joint climate resilient program. Of course, increased budgetary allocation is required, counterpart funding required more regularly. Next slide. The next step, we intend to implement all the content of our NDC to develop our climate change information guide for hydrological area 3 and hydrological area 5. We intend to continue with the sensitization workshop with all the river basins. We intend to pursue the inclusion of the water sector into the third tranche of the Green Bond Initiative and to scale up advocacy, sensitization, information dissemination through the departments in the ministries and NDA and the River Basin Development Authorities. Next slide. Recommendation. Water is very vulnerable to climate swings, and hence, all effort must be put in place to minimize adverse effects of climate change on all water infrastructure through incorporating climate concern into the development and management of programs in the sector. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very finally. Please, yeah. Please take it easy. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. The climate is changing faster than we thought it would. Just put the microphone quietly and carry your climate. Go with your climate. The Lord is good. That should be the last unit that has been done. Gender is unavailable. So I think you make your comments now, Director, on the units. No. Is Gurara Management Agency here? It's no more there. Oh, it's not. I think I should deal with Abdul Kadir. NEMA is not part of us. So you will just conclude this and then we'll do NEMA tomorrow. Yes, Director, I can present NEMA tomorrow. No, just a minute, sir. Just 1 minute. You go ahead. Make your comments.
Good evening, everybody. The chairman, sir, thanks for the opportunity you have given us, the National Emergency Management Agency, to do a presentation on the role of NEMA in wash management and water management in Nigeria. The role of NEMA in the promotion of water, sanitation, and hygiene, wash, in disaster management in Nigeria. Now, NEMA, briefly, is a national emergency response unit that is legally instituted in 1999. I will not bother us on the historical overview, but in 1906, it started as a fire brigade, the same fire brigade we've been hearing about. But due to technological advancement, a lot of disaster occur in Nigeria. Along the line, there was a cholera outbreak in 1973 as a result of water and sanitation problems. And a National Emergency Relief Agency was instituted in 1976. Then, because of more disasters and a lot of emerging man-made disasters that are coming up as the development comes up, the NEMA was instituted in 1999 by the Obasanjo regime, which we have as the National Emergency Management Agency today. Now, our mission is to coordinate resources. Next slide, please. Next, just go ahead. One step back. Okay? No, no, no. Please go forward, one after the other. I just want us to see our mission. Our mission is to coordinate resources. When we talk about resources, every resources of other departments, other national agencies that has to do with emergency response, to coordinate these resources for efficient and effective disaster prevention, preparedness, mitigation, and response in Nigeria. And our vision is to build a culture of preparedness, prevention, response, and community resilience to disasters in Nigeria. Now, some of the responsibilities or functions of NEMA is to formulate policies, okay, regarding disaster management in Nigeria, and to coordinate activities of other stakeholders that has to do with response to emergency management in the country. Also to facilitate the provision of search and rescue when there is any form of disaster. Now, NEMA responds to all forms of disasters in all its ramifications. Whatever disaster you see happening in Nigeria, either man-made, natural, or man-induced, NEMA responds. We also educate the public on disaster prevention and disease control and measures and control measures, relief and rehabilitation from local and international NGOs. We collaborate with them to supply this relief and give to whoever has been affected. We also collect data for planning, research, and forecasting. Then we also work with all the state emergency management agencies and the local emergency management agencies to respond to disasters at the state level. Next slide, please. Please overroll the slide. These are the other functions and responsibilities at Benin. Next one. Now, this is the national management system in Nigeria. It's from the national level and then to the state level through the zonal offices. Now, the zone works with all the states, the state emergency management agencies, and the states work with the local emergency management agencies and the community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, NGOs, and this also go down to the grassroots at the community level to reach out to other groups and grassroots at the local government areas. Now, in disaster management circle, to manage disaster, we have four elements, which is preparedness, response, recovery, mitigation, and prevention. And where NEMA comes in water and sanitation, is in the area of response. Next slide, please. Next slide. And these are the disaster reduction activities which NEMA does. Advocacy with all stakeholders in Nigeria that has to do with emergency response. Now, in these advocacy meetings, we form mitigation plans that will be very necessary for emergency response. And preparedness is the major area where we mitigate disasters in the country. We prepare in different areas in water and sanitation, in emergency search and rescue, and also in simulations. It's all forms of preparedness at every level, from the federal, the state, and the local government level. And also, we also have what we call grassroots emergency volunteer corps, which NEMA recruits, and the NYSC core groups that are being involved in emergency management at the grassroots level. We call them the emergency management vanguard. Then we have the paradigm shift to disaster risk reduction, where we extend this information to different schools. And pilot studies, organizations have been started in different schools, to affect the disaster risk reduction paradigm shift. Instead of waiting for disaster to happen, we try to prevent that disaster from happening. Now, a step back, please. Then we have emergency management volunteer corps, which have been trained by the agency in emergency management. Next slide. Now, for water sanitation and hygiene, WASH, we should know that access to water, sanitation, and hygiene is very fundamental to our health. It plays a critical role in the prevention and management of diseases, including neglected tropical diseases, which affect millions of people across the world, and most especially the poorest communities. Next slide. Now, NEMA has invested human and financial resources in WASH. WASH is one of the 5 public health interventions to control neglected tropical diseases. And while the NTD controls efforts have achieved a lot, considerable success through mass drug administration campaigns for many diseases, WASH remains essential to limit or break the transmission cycle of these diseases. Next slide. Now, NEMA has also partnered with the state governments and international organizations to provide basic hygiene facilities in emergency situations, especially in our IDP camps, the internally displaced persons camps, which have been ever assisted. And currently in the Northeast, which is an emergency area as a result of the insurgency, we still have camps existing in Borno State. We have 4 different camps still existing. We have over 18,000 IDPs where NEMA is responding in their area of water and sanitation. And in Adamawa State, we have over 5,000 IDPs where intervention is still taking place. And then the agency ensures the prevention of open defecation, especially by children in areas that could lead to the contamination of water supply. The agency also tries to prevent infection spread through sensitization and awareness creation. NEMA also complements other agencies and state governments in providing assistance to all these areas. Now we can see some of the water equipment that have been provided to areas that have been affected by water issues, especially when there is flood contamination. These machines can be taken to these grassroots areas and then the water being purified through dams, through the rivers, through wells, and good water is being served.
Please, thank you very much, sir. A round of applause for Nema. Sorry. A round of applause for him. Thank you very kindly. Thank you. Please, those people making noise upstairs, I don't know who you are, and I don't know what you're doing, but I've been paid to tell you to shut up. Do we have police officers here? This is the time you go and make some arrests. Those noisemakers. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Director, you have just 1 minute to wrap it all off. Our gala was supposed to have started by now already. We won't take questions. We'll carry over questions till tomorrow, when before the plenary. We'll do that. So we can arrange for the gala night quickly.
Okay, so let me just quickly acknowledge the presentation by the Department of Irrigation and Drainage. They've, give, they've given us good statistics. It appears so beautiful on the face value, but I want us to know that we still have a long way to go because we have a very huge irrigation potential in this country, as much as 3.41 million hectares. And we have not attained up to 200,000 yet. We're just in the range of 170,000 hectares. The presenter, I don't think you gave us that, but that is my understanding about that. It means that we still have a long way to go. And who are the people driving it? As a matter of fact, it's the river basins. They are the ones to do this. The ministry, the Department of Irrigation and Drainage doesn't have any land in Abuja that they are using to do this. It's through the river basins. So you have to scale up so that we can increase the the total hectarage. Then on the climate change, I think this forum is very, very good because climate change is not very far from my department. Although I know that the head of climate change is a very active guy. He's doing a lot, very innovative guy. He's very mobile. I know he's doing a lot, but it's today that I have been privileged to see the details of what they're doing. And I think also that it's a good opportunity for all of you to see what they're doing. You've seen their mandate, see how important it is. And of course, you know, we have a serious challenge challenge from climate change variability. So, the issue is cross-cutting. That means it affects all the departments, all the technical departments, and all the MD, all the agencies. So it's for all of us. And if they circulate the paper, you still need to go through it very well. And I think every agency should have a desk for climate change. I believe the river basins have it already, but you have to really be up and doing with what you are supposed to do there. And there are opportunities there, capacity building, and then even funding. There are funding opportunities in that place. If you do well, you can attract funds. For some of the complaints that you have, challenge you have about funding, there is money available under the green bonds in this place. So, but the most important thing is for us to implement the mitigation measures. There are measures. There is this strategies document that they have developed. If you pick it, you will see what you are supposed to do to minimize climate change impact in your basins. So finally, on NEMA, we appreciate your coming, and I think I want to also encourage the organizers to see that they extend invitations to other relevant agencies, maybe to attend future conferences if it is not against the spirit of this conference. Because now we have all seen clearly a relationship between us and NEMA and what we need to do. So finally, before I hand over to my senior director and the chair of this meeting, let me just say that this is a very good platform for peer review. For the river basin in particular, we have been advocating and trying to make sure that we do peer review visits across river basins. But even before traveling, you can see today from the reports we have gotten from the various river basins, even the reports we have gotten from the ministry, you have understanding of what is going on, and we must have gained some new knowledge and also some experiences. So it's of course, we know that a lot is being invested in this water conference. A lot is being invested. And I think we have also gained a lot. So it's also an opportunity. The conference is also an opportunity to inform Nigerians through the press, and even for those of them that are here, about what we are doing in the water sector. So it's a very, so each time, next time when you are coming, I think that you should really plan well to showcase what you are doing. And it's an opportunity also to challenge ourselves and then to set new targets for greater attainment. And on this, on the final note, I think I want to also suggest to the organizers, I have now understood now the way you planned out these presentations with the academic papers going on there and then our progress reports going on here. It's now I understand it, but I think maybe if you make it, if you can dedicate one day for progress reports and another day for the other one, because a lot of people here would have also want to gain something from that. If we have a whole day dedicated to progress reports and then the technical session, it will be nice. On this note, we want to really appreciate all of you for your commitment. And since yesterday, this hall has been filled up. We thank you so much. We appreciate you. I think the investment that Benin Owena has put into this and the Institute has also put into this is not wasted. I have gained from this conference more than any other one I ever attended. And I appreciate you. So let's clap for the organizers. And thank you for cooperating with us. Thank you.
Thank you. My peers, you may wrap it off. I think you did all the work here today.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Your presence has been amazing.
Thank you so much. I thank in a special way the group managing director, we call him the GMD of the River Basin.
Yes.
And he has done a great work, has shown that he has taken the River Basin to another level. Today we have seen most of them, their activities and their scorecard, and we encourage them to do more. The partial commercialization of the River Basin is ongoing, and the ministry has tried to allay the fears of the workers. The union have been afraid that it will affect them. Not affecting them, but it's making them to do more work. You see, like we saw in the Niger Delta Basin, where some people who are not specialists in some areas were now posted to do some other job. This is very interesting. It's a way of making workers to do their work. Then each of the river banks should take this program very seriously and all provide all the necessary enablement. And then we have tried to emphasize the need for the river basin to key in their own states, all the catchment states, all the governors. The minister has already continued to emphasize that it is very important. See, some of them are trying to lament that the programs or projects are not there. But if you have that kind of collaboration, such things will not exist. Then on the ministry, we have seen all the departments that are presented, they have done a great job. Then on the open defecation, you know, is a very key program of the ministry, for the ministry. And then on the master plan, which we cannot do without the master plan. All the river basin, other agencies, and stakeholders should be in the master plan. And then on the irrigation and drainage, they made their presentation. They have done a lot of work. But then one of the take-home is the Water Users Association, which will encourage all the river basin to emphasize that and make sure that they make available, we make proper use of the dams and the water through the Water Users Association. Then we have seen it all that climate change mainstream in the water sector has gone a long way. They have done a lot of job. In fact, so many programs have been carried out. They have gone to most of the river basins. They have presented documents. You see the bag they were carrying. I was scared here. I said, but I told them that we're in a country that the reading culture is very poor. But then the ministry there's what an emphasis again on knowledge-based economy. We are trying to emphasize the need for knowledge, for people to make available all these documents for their own use. So I thank you all for your patience, for being there with us all this while. And we believe that all this we have tried today will go a long way for capacity building, for your understanding of the workers' sector, and for you to be there with us and help us in projecting and implementing our program. Thank you all.
A round of applause for the coordinator and our director, Mr. Wakpa. We thank you very much. That's a good job you did for the PS. Standing in for her has been amazing. Mr. John Ochigbo, we can't thank you enough. You have shown us today that you are an encyclopedia of knowledge. You know everything about everything. So we are pleading with your lecturers to make sure you get A class, first class, before you graduate. I think you deserve it. You really deserve that. Very well. Now, tomorrow we resume here for the last sessions before we travel. That's number one. Number two, our gala night here begins tonight. That's by 8 p.m. You're going to come here. Don't wear the kaftans and the suits. If you have a jeans and t-shirt, put it on. If you have short knicker, wear it. Don't worry. You're coming here to dance it away and eat it away and celebrate and rejoice. And if there are people here you don't have their contacts, please try to build that relationship. There are those you've not met that will be useful to you tomorrow. For instance, I'm going to give you my phone number and my account numbers. If you call the phone number, it doesn't go, try the account number. I receive alerts faster than I receive calls. So that way also work for all of us. Please, let's rise up on our feet as to say our good evenings and close with the second stanza of the national anthem, please. Gala night begins this same hall by 8 p.m. today, don't forget. Can we be silent in the presence of the Almighty? O God of creation, one to go. O God of creation, direct our noble cause. Guide our leaders right. Help our youth the truth to know. In love and honesty to grow. And living great and lofty heights attain. To build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Amen. Good evening, everyone. We'll see you back here at 8 o'clock if you will come, if you want. And I encourage you to please come. But in case you don't, we'll see you in the morning at 8 o'clock. All executive directors here present, you are to converge right in front here. I think the second, where are we meeting again? Right there. Yeah, all the EDs of the river basins, please. We're meeting by the second table here on the third row. Please, very quickly, EDs, let's come. And DJ, please don't play music. The rapporteurs are working. They want some silence. Thank you very much. God bless you.